Welcome to GTM TV Enyanya, and I'm your host Elijah Meru, reporting to you live from Denmark. And so we started a discussion about family as the foundation of society, and we say that we are going to discuss about several issues facing the family in the West here, and as compared to what happens on the continent. And we will try to see the differences and leave it to you to appreciate and decide what you think about the whole thing. And so we are going to talk today about the children custody and maintenance, because this is a very important question that very many people, perhaps when they start this process, do not ask themselves, because then it's between a husband and a wife who are fighting and who had this problem. And in most cases on the continent of Africa, there were some provisions, there were the ways of things were done. And as we discussed, it's like because of the reality that men were the providers for food and all the needs for the family, in most cases you realize that when there was divorce, it was like everybody agreed that it's the father who remains with the children, because I think the argument was that he's the one who is working, he has the possibility of taking care of them, taking them to school and providing for their needs. But because of the changes that we can see in society today, things are changing, not only on the continent of Africa, but also in the West here. And before we proceed, let us listen to this advert, and then we will be right back. Thank you for your time.
Welcome to thedoor.com. The Door, welcome to thedoor.com. The Door, it's a platform where you can buy and sell anything, anytime, anywhere. Making money right back easily.
It's swift, secure, and easy. Dador, transforming lives.
Yes, so we were discussing that in most cases on the continent, for example, when you look at this, you see that when you have decided to divorce, and apart from the separation, there is also this issue, apart from the children, the issue of deciding who takes what, and even dividing, the things that you had as a family. And you see, it depends again with the kind of marriage that you had. If you did the customary law, there are some provisions about the same. You see, in most cases, in some culture, they will say that the family of the wives have to return the dowry that was given to them. In some other cases, they say, no, you don't need to do so. But people are thinking more about the things that you got together, the money that you amassed, the properties that you might also have amassed during that time that you are married. It's important here to mention that though so many people don't think so much about this, but when you go to get married, to do civil marriage, to the state, to the DC, to the mayor place, in most cases, there's 3 ways of getting married. You can have the separation of things, like what you had and what you will earn after your marriage is yours. Is yours as a man, is yours as a wife. When you separate, and everything that you buy during that time, you bought your car, you bought your house, you bought your bicycle, you bought your computer. If you are to divorce, then everybody goes with what belongs to them, what they think they brought in, you know. There is the second one, is like you whatever you had before you got married, and before whatever they had before they got married as well, remains theirs. But what you will have together, whatever you will earn together, doesn't matter if you are working, the two of them, or one of you is working, to some extent, then it's believed that the other person, even though perhaps it's a housewife or house husband, to some extent they are helping also in earning that money, you know, in bringing in whatever income you are bringing in. You are going to work perhaps, and somebody is remaining home doing the house calls and so on and so forth. So this is that you, whatever you had before, whatever the other one had before, you bring it together, remains theirs, but whatever you will get together is what is yours. And when you get when you divorce, for example, then everybody, you see whatever you have been able to amass together, then you divide it equally. The other one is just the combination of everything, like everything that you had, everything that you get after you got married is yours. And then once you get separated, divorced, then each and every one of you divide into two. You had two houses, one goes with one or the other. If you had one, you sell it and you divide evenly the money and so on and so forth. That's not the discussion that we had here. The discussion that we're having here is about the children. Who remains with the children? Now, to some extent, whatever, like this solution that we were providing, I must be honest, was not the best. As I said before, selfishness is the major motive today, because you could see most of us, you see, perhaps you grew up with your two parents, some of them were fighting, others were not fighting, and you could hear either of them is saying, no, if I spend 50 years, 60 years, 40 years, 30 years in this marriage, it's because I was looking at my kids and asking myself, what happens if we get separated? And because I wanted to invest much more in them, I did everything that I did because of them. But because of selfishness today, people don't give a damn. You see, everybody, they think, okay, especially in the West here, there is this issue that so many women think, like we are talking about the customary law, that following divorce or separation, different type of customs and practice offer different forms of protection to the children. In most African societies, as I said, custody of children was granted to the father, divorce unless the dowry was returned, as I said, in some cases. Today there are people who got married under the African customary law, but upon divorce or separation go to court, so that the dispute on what should belong to who and the custody of the children is resolved. In such a case, the basis upon which the issue will be decided is similar to one in which the marriages is statutory one. Now, statutory position, like the civil wedding, as I said, courts are very sensitive about children's welfare, and whenever the question of their custody arises, sometimes during the subsistence of the marriage, their welfare is the main consideration. So today, in most cases, the court will always say that they are looking for the best welfare of the children, you know. But as I said earlier, you realize that it is a very serious problem, because sometimes women in the West here take advantage of this, because it's assumed like if the children are younger, below the age, a certain age, these children must be with their mother. And because we are talking about their maintenance, and so the husband must maintain those children. And you see, sometimes the women themselves, they know, they do everything. And I've seen so many men who are living in the West here and who didn't find it fit to get married to women here. They think like they must go back home and find the women there and marry them, bring them in the West here. And after you bring them here, some of them, they come here, but they have left their lovers behind there. And they know also the conditions here. So she stays with you for a year or 2 or 3. She makes babies with you 2 or 3. And once she has them, then she brings so many problems. And then because she knows that at the end of the day, the law will side with her and she'll be given the children. And you'll be forced to continue maintaining those children, paying some money, which is set out by law. Then you realize that she might be cheating on you, or she was cheating, but you still continue to maintain them. And women, in most cases, they misuse this law. You know, when it comes to children of tender years, court have considered consistently held that the mother of the children should get their custody unless good reasons to the contrary can be proved. And that's how it is in the West here. In most cases, they think like the mother will be the person to do this. But we have heard of cases as well where a woman remains with her own children, but again mistreats them, or just leave them and go around chasing men, or perhaps drinking, or perhaps just leaving them while she goes on her own other businesses. So it's very important to understand that the best interest of the children should motivate all the parents. The mother's poverty is no reason to deny her custody of the children. The father can be required to pay for their upkeep while in their custody. So that argument that we used to have in back home, that because the mother has no job, the mother has no this and that, so she can't remain with the children, you will still be forced that even though she is not in a position, she's poor, she doesn't have money, that is enough reason for the government or for the court to force you as a man to continue supporting her, to pay for the children schooling, for their clothing, for their food, and every other thing. Custody of a child will last until the particular child attains the age of 18. That's where it goes worse. Perhaps if you had more than one child, you had 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they are of tender age, they are 1, 2, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So until they attain the age of 18, and in some countries, even after 18, you still continue to provide for them anyway, because you remain a parent anyway. Custody of a child will last until the age of 18. After 18, the child is considered mature enough to be able to make decisions for themselves and to take care of themselves and decide who to stay with among the parents. But in some cases also, when the children are of the age of 13, 14 and so on, sometimes they are asked the question of knowing who they feel comfortable to stay with. But as I said before, the problem with this is that no one parent can be best, can be both a father and a mother for the children. As far as who loses custody of the children has, however, certain right over this. So like if you had two parents who have a child, and then the court decides, or perhaps you yourself will decide that the children will remain with this particular parent, the other parent has still some rights toward the children. That's the spouse, whether the mother or the father has the right of visiting them, and this is again a blunder, because I found this very unhealthy. You see, because sometimes, as I said earlier, you find that some women do this because they want money. And we've heard of so many women from different countries who come in the West here and choose to have children with different men. And then they will not do anything else because they know that those husbands or those fathers of their children will be giving them some money from time to time. But some go even to the extent of denying the other parent, the right of seeing their own children. And that's where it gets very complicated, because this is a guy who perhaps is paying for the upkeep of the children, is supporting you for some reason, and in most cases even the money given to this woman to take care of the children is not used on the children. It's again used to give to other men who are supposedly are supposed to come and you understand what I mean? So this becomes more complicated, and that's why I was saying in some cities here you will find people from different countries who came and who were victims of this situation. Perhaps you don't have a very good job, and then you are confronted with this kind of laws, and then you are paying that money to that woman, perhaps who has